The Ghosts of Fort George, Ontario's most haunted historic site. Located in Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, Fort George is a historic military fort that played a key role during the War of 1812 between the United States and Britain. Built by the British to protect the strategic point at the mouth of the Niagara River, the fort was a vital defensive position during several major battles. But Fort George's history is not only one of war and military strategy, it is also known for the numerous ghostly sightings and paranormal activity reported by visitors, staff, and paranormal investigators over the years. As one of Ontario's most haunted historic sites, Fort George is home to countless stories of restless spirits, disembodied voices, and eerie apparitions. The combination of its violent past, the soldiers who died within its walls, and the tragic history of the surrounding area have made Fort George a hotbed of paranormal activity. Today it stands not only as a testament to the war, but as a reminder of the lives lost there and the spirits that may still linger. The history of Fort George. Fort George was constructed by the British between 1796 and 1802 to defend the entrance to the Niagara River, which was crucial for controlling the supply routes to the Great Lakes. The fort was designed to protect the town of Niagara, now Niagara-on-the-Lake, from American attacks, and to serve as the headquarters for the British Army and the local militia. The fort included several blockhouses, a hospital, barracks, officers' quarters, and defensive walls made of wooden palisades. In 1813, during the War of 1812, Fort George was heavily bombarded by American forces and eventually captured after a fierce battle. The British and Canadian forces were forced to retreat to Burlington Heights, and the fort was left in ruins. However, Fort George was later recaptured by the British, and it continued to serve as a key military outpost until it was abandoned in the early 19th century. The fort was eventually rebuilt in the 1930s as part of a restoration project and was designated a National Historic Site of Canada. While the physical history of Fort George is well documented, it is the emotional and tragic history that has given rise to its ghostly legends. Many soldiers died defending the fort, either in battle or from disease, and it is said that some of their spirits remain trapped within the fort's walls. The Ghosts of Fort George. Over the years, Fort George has developed a reputation as one of Ontario's most haunted locations. Numerous ghost sightings and paranormal experiences have been reported by visitors, tour guides, and staff. The fort's long and bloody history, coupled with its role as a military hospital and barracks, has made it a magnet for ghostly activity. One of the most famous ghosts said to haunt Fort George is the spirit of a young girl who is frequently seen running through the officers' quarters and the barracks. This ghost is often described as wearing a white or light-colored dress, and she is believed to be the spirit of a child who died of disease or illness during the fort's use as a hospital. Witnesses have reported seeing the girl darting through hallways and rooms before vanishing into thin air. Some have even heard the sound of her giggling or calling out, despite there being no children present. The soldiers' spirits. Given the fort's military history, it's no surprise that many of the ghosts reported at Fort George are believed to be the spirits of soldiers who died there. One of the most commonly reported apparitions is that of a British soldier, often seen patrolling the grounds or standing guard near the fort's entrance. Dressed in a red coat uniform, this ghostly figure has been spotted by numerous visitors, who have described him as appearing solid and lifelike before suddenly disappearing. The barracks where soldiers once slept and lived are said to be particularly haunted. People visiting the barracks have reported hearing the sound of heavy footsteps, as if soldiers are still marching through the halls. The clanging of metal and the rustling of equipment have also been heard, even when the barracks are empty. Some visitors have even felt an invisible presence brushing past them, as though unseen soldiers are moving through the space. One of the most chilling stories involves the ghost of a soldier who died during the American bombardment of the fort in 1813. According to legend, this soldier was killed instantly by a cannonball, which decapitated him. His headless figure has been seen wandering the fort's grounds, particularly near the site of the old hospital, where many wounded and dying soldiers were treated. The sight of this headless apparition has left more than one witness shaken and terrified. The haunted powder magazine. One of the most haunted buildings in Fort George is the powder magazine, a stone structure that was used to store gunpowder and ammunition during the fort's operation. The powder magazine is one of the oldest and most well-preserved parts of the fort, and it has a reputation for being particularly eerie. Visitors and staff have reported hearing strange noises coming from within the magazine, including the sound of heavy objects being moved, even though the building is often empty. Some have experienced cold spots or a sudden drop in temperature when entering the magazine, even on warm summer days. The atmosphere inside the powder magazine is often described as oppressive and unsettling, with many people reporting a feeling of being watched. One of the most disturbing stories associated with the powder magazine involves a soldier who is believed to have died in an explosion. Legend has it that this soldier was killed when gunpowder accidentally ignited, causing a massive blast that destroyed part of the fort. His restless spirit is said to haunt the powder magazine, and visitors have reported seeing a shadowy figure standing near the entrance or hearing his voice echoing inside the building. The Phantom Drummer. Another famous ghost at Fort George is that of a phantom drummer, who is often heard but rarely seen. The sound of a drum beating in the distance has been reported by many visitors, especially during quiet evenings when the fort is less crowded. The rhythmic drumming is said to come from an invisible source, as no one has ever been able to locate the drummer responsible. Some believe that the drumming is the spirit of a soldier who served as a drummer boy during the War of 1812. Drummer boys were often young and played a crucial role in communication during battle, using their drums to relay orders to troops. It is thought that this phantom drummer met a tragic end during one of the battles for Fort George, and that his spirit continues to sound the call for soldiers who are no longer there to hear it. Other paranormal experiences. In addition to the specific ghost sightings, Fort George is known for a wide range of other paranormal experiences. Cold spots, sudden gusts of wind, and the feeling of being touched by unseen hands are common occurrences reported by both visitors and staff. Disembodied voices are often heard, especially in the officers' quarters, where people have reported hearing conversations or laughter even when the rooms are empty. Tour guides who lead the fort's popular ghost tours have reported experiencing paranormal activity themselves, including doors slamming shut on their own, objects being moved, and the inexplicable feeling of being followed. Many of these guides have become accustomed to the fort's ghostly residents, but some have been so unnerved by their experiences that they refuse to enter certain areas alone. Modern-day paranormal investigations. Fort George's reputation as one of Ontario's most haunted locations has attracted the attention of numerous paranormal investigators and ghost hunters. Over the years, several teams have conducted investigations at the fort, using equipment such as electromagnetic field, EMF detectors, thermal cameras, and electronic voice phenomena, EVP recorders, to capture evidence of the paranormal. These investigations have yielded intriguing results, with many investigators reporting unexplained EMF spikes, unusual temperature fluctuations, and recordings of disembodied voices. Some EVP recordings have captured what sounds like the voices of soldiers, including commands being shouted or the faint sound of a drum beat. Thermal cameras have also picked up images of shadowy figures or cold spots in areas where no one else was present. While skeptics argue that some of the activity at Fort George could be attributed to natural causes, such as the age of the buildings or environmental factors, many believe that the fort's haunted reputation is well-deserved. The combination of its violent history, tragic deaths, and unexplained phenomena makes Fort George a prime location for paranormal activity.